Alright, so we're gonna talk about it. Iran's match against Hong Kong, and my goodness, that was 2 hours that I wish I could gain back, but sadly, Amir Khalenoui and his tactics have robbed 2 hours of my life. What a total contrast from Iran's performance against Palestine, where I thought, okay, there might be a positive change going into this tournament. I saw a little bit of a different Iran under Amir Khalenoui, and then going into this game, I was hoping we would push forward into this match against Hong Kong, a national team that we're very familiar against, just recently played them in World Cup qualifying, but instead, this was a completely backwards performance. When you look at the lineup, I knew there was going to be a fair amount of rotation, and I didn't really have an issue with that rotation. It's just the players that were put in regards to, they're just players that I've been saying shouldn't be getting called up to the national team, shouldn't really be starting for this national team. I don't mind if they're in the mix getting called up, but they shouldn't be getting any significant minutes. Starting from the top to bottom, I mean, starting with Shahriar Moghalu, I mean, he was absolutely terrible in this game. I mean, 2, 3, just big chances on a platter for him. He couldn't take it. And I've mentioned it 1,000 times. He's not a striker that should be playing for us. He should be maybe a bench warmer at absolute best. And he proved it most definitely today. Against a country like Hong Kong, he needs to do a lot better. Then we got Rouzbek Cheshmi, who's definitely still living off his goal against Wales. He played like a cement truck in this game. He was slow, lethargic, so many misplaced passes. When he was playing next to Salman Ghoddos, I mean, Salman Ghoddos' performance compared to the match against Palestine just dropped off so much when he's paired with a guy like Cheshmi, who has zero class in his game, and he just was misplacing passes, just didn't look like he knew where he was in that match. And then there's Kanani, who I've mentioned many times, who some people agree or disagree with me. I mean, just a lot of just boneheaded moves in that match, where if those mistakes were against a team that was even just a little bit more clinical, he would have been punished. He makes so many rash decisions. He doesn't think with his head. He just goes balls to the wall all the time, and that's why I just don't rate him as one of our center backs. Has such a big inflated ego, it feels like, on and off the field, especially in that CAF Nations Cup final against Uzbekistan, where he threw that temper tantrum, and that was kind of the moment where I was totally done with the guy. Some other players I do want to mention in this category is Milad Mohammadi, who I know on FootMob and all those other football sites did get awarded as the man of the match because he got the assist and got a clean sheet, so technically that is man of the match worthy. But outside of some just okay moments at best, he was pretty all over the place in this match. Almost scored an insane own goal with a terrible clearance. He looked completely lost on that left-hand side. Even though Beranvon did keep a clean sheet, but that moment where he almost costed himself a red card and Iran the match, it keeps making me think, does he still deserve to be the number one for this team? Since the World Cup, he's had numerous injuries back to back to back. Every time he keeps getting called up to the national team. And I don't think it's a bad idea, maybe not in this tournament, I know this is a total side note, but he should maybe just be moved on and start giving Hossein Hosseini or Peyman Niazman the mantle as the number one, because he's kind of clearly past it. He makes a lot of boneheaded mistakes. He's not as clutch as he was back in that 2018 World Cup, 2019 Asia Cup, till the match against Japan, where he's someone that I could be 100% confident about from the first minute to the 90th minute that he's going to make a lot of saves, keep the defense in check. Just like Kanani, he makes so many boneheaded errors. Some small positives, Salman Ghoddos was still pretty good. I will say when he was paired up with Cheshmi, you could tell he had such difficulty in the midfield, but when Ezzatullahi came on at around the 65th minute, you could see the midfield was a lot more smoother and more solidified. So you can tell there's like such a big drop off from our starters to our bench warmers, and it makes me question, why didn't we bring Ali Karimi as one of our CDM options in this team? And then in my opinion, the man of the match, Mehdi Qaedi, he was definitely our offensive spark in this match. If there was any opportunities that we were gonna have or any chances that were gonna be created, it was through him. He scored a goal which was very similar to his goal against Palestine, just perfectly slots it into the bottom right corner, but this time around creates the chance pretty much all by himself. Helped create some half chances that Moghalu constantly spurned. And he's a guy, in my opinion, has been Iran's best player so far in this tournament and is kind of just an undroppable player so far. So big ups to Mehdi Qaedi, who I thought was a guy that maybe shouldn't have been called up for this Asia Cup, but has completely proved me wrong, and I'm totally okay with that. I know there's somewhat of big criticism for Mehdi Taremi because he's supposed to be the main talisman, the main guy for Iran in this tournament. I think part of the reason why he hasn't quite performed at a great level, he's a little bit out of form. I mean, this past last year for him has just been transfer saga with AC Milan and now Inter Milan, and it looks like that deal is basically solidified. So I think part of him is kind of just thinking about that move and kind of in the back burner thinking about it. I know he has admitted he doesn't want to talk about it and whatnot, but the reality is he probably is thinking about it, and that's obviously in the back of his head. On the flip side though, we have to give massive praise to Hong Kong. They started off this game really well, which is what I was hoping Iran would do, similar to what they did in the Palestine game, where they start off this match really hot, but Hong Kong really took it to Iran and were kind of unlucky not to have gone a goal in this game. If they just had that little bit more of composure in class in the final third, Hong Kong could have easily scored at least one goal in this game. They played so well, so big shout out to them and their fans. I mean, their fans were chanting from minute 1 to minute 90, and they honestly did deserve at least a point out of this game. And even part of me thinks Iran should have drawn that match, because I think that would have been the big slap in the face that Galenoy and all these players needed, similarly to what I think is going to happen with Japan with their recent loss to Iraq, that all those mistakes and all these errors that all of us can see this team is susceptible to will at least be slapped across the coaches, the players' faces, to be like, hey, this is the real deal now. Regardless if our opponent is the 150th ranked team in the FIFA rankings or the first ranked team in the FIFA rankings, we are susceptible to a lot of mistakes, so let's reduce that from happening in this tournament. And I still think Galenoy and these players will realize that this was a pretty bad performance by us, and we can't let this happen anymore throughout this tournament. All of our easy games are done. That was it. From UAE on, it's going to be a total challenge for Iran. We can't be making these little boneheaded, silly mistakes like we did against Palestine and Hong Kong. We have to start being lights out from the first minute in that match against UAE on Tuesday, which if you guys didn't know, I will be live doing a watch along for it, so make sure to be there. To however far they get in this tournament, Iran need to be locked in now. And to talk a little bit about Galenoy, he looked hella pissed off by the looks of it on the bench, so I do appreciate that he could clearly tell we played kind of shit in this game, but I mean, he's partially to blame. These are the players that were controversially called up, Moghalu, Cheshmi, Kanani, that you chose to call up for this tournament, which many fans like myself were questioning, why are these guys getting called up for this team and will actually get minutes in this tournament? So yes, it's okay to be frustrated at these players, but Galenoy, you have to look at yourself. You called up these guys, you implemented these tactics, and again, I like that he rotated the squad, but as I kind of anticipated, a lot of these guys were just not up the chuff, but at the same time, a lot of these players just didn't play well, so that's partially him to blame and as well the players to blame. So moral of the story is, I'm just hoping that this game was the slap in the face that Iran needed for all of these players, Galenoy, to realize this tournament is not going to be a cakewalk. Yes, we played well against Palestine, but that's game 1. There's going to be many more games to come, and when we hit the knockout rounds, it's win or go home. We don't get second chances like in the group stage. But yeah, guys, don't forget, I will be doing the watch along against UAE, so make sure to be there. These watch alongs have been absolutely fun, so big shout out to all my subscribers that have been attending these watch alongs. And as well as we get to the latter stages of this tournament, like quarterfinals on, for any of the big matches of the Asian Cup, we will be live for those as well. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed so you're part of this fun journey, or not so fun journey for some of the Iranian fans. But boys and girls, make sure to smash the like button on today's video, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I hope you'll have a lovely day.